Hi everybody, welcome back to Rachel's Page Turners. Today I'm going to be doing the Creatures of the Night book tag. Halloween is pretty much right around the corner and I figured today would be the best time, if any, in doing this tag. I wasn't tagged by anybody. I was watching Maureen Kiwi's video, her tag video, and she didn't tag anybody. She was just like, I tag you and you. So I was like, alright, I guess I'm tagged. Let's get started. Now this isn't your usual tag video with questions and an answer. This is just categories. Category 1, Vampire. And for this category I picked Zoe Redbird from the House of Night series, particularly the first book, Marked, by PC Cast and Kristen Cast. I'm way behind on the series, but I know where I left off. She was technically a fledgling, not a full vampire yet. I picked her because I thought the idea of these vampires were pretty cool. Vampires aren't bit or made. You have a certain slice of DNA that will make you go through the change, and it's very possible that this change will kill you. But in the meantime, once you're marked, once you're like, hey, it's clear that you have this particular DNA, you have to go to this House of Night boarding school, because fledglings, unless they're constantly in the proximity of a full vampire, they're more likely to die. At least that's how I understood it. But I thought that whole idea was really cool, and I really like Zoe Redbird as a character, which is why I chose her for this category. Category number 2, Werewolf. And unfortunately, I don't have all the books for these questions. I did, but unless you can tell from my background here, everything I own is in storage. What's left of it, it's kind of packed weirdly in this corner here. But I only have a select few of my books. But for this category, I picked Remus Lupin from the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. Remus Lupin is my absolute favorite Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. I've said this before in a video, but if you're not aware, this book is actually technically the first Harry Potter book I ever read. I wasn't allowed to read the series, so I read this book first because my teacher had the series in the classroom and the first books were already taken out by other students, so I read this one first. So of course this one has a very special place in my heart, and I just like Remus Lupin as a character in general. Category 3, Zombies. And for this one I picked The Walking Dead by Robert Kirkman. It is a comic series. I've only read a couple of the volumes. I'm also woefully behind on that, as I'm woefully behind on the TV show, and I can't believe this week's episode was spoiled for me. If you're up to the show, then you know what I'm talking about. I'm really pissed off about that. And when that person who did the spoiling was confronted, she was like, well, you should have been caught up. Isn't that just too bad? It's like, oh. I feel like I was more angry at the lack of compassion than the actual spoilering. But I digress. It's an awesome series. I say you should give it a shot, especially this time of year. It's perfect. Category number 4, Ghosts. And for this one, I had to do some thinking about this. I decided on The Archived by Victoria Schwab. It's also another series. I've only read this first book. I can't wait to read book 2. I absolutely loved this first book. I thought the concept was really cool. Basically, the dead are kept like books on a bookshelf, and they're called histories. And occasionally these histories will wake up and try to escape the archive, and it is a keeper's job to stop them and then put them back in their place. Sorry, I misspoke. They give them to the person, I want to say the librarian. Totally spacing on this. But that librarian's job is then to put them back into place. And that itself is a really cool concept for a ghost. They're probably not ghosts per se in the traditional sense, but I think they're basically ghosts. I actually nearly forgot about this series. It's been a while since I read book 1 and I got distracted reading other things. But I really can't wait to read book 2. Category number 5, Witch, Warlock, or Spellcaster. I had picked Gandalf from the Lord of the Rings series by J.R.R. Tolkien simply because I wanted to represent another book series. I didn't want this to be heavily Harry Potter. But honestly, if I wanted to pick my absolute favorite, it would be Minerva McGonagall from the Harry Potter series. She is everything I want to be. Gandalf is pretty badass in his own right, but Minerva McGonagall, She's a goddess. Category number 6, fairy or fae. And for this one, I picked Seelie Queen from the Shadowhunter series. Oh, I just hit myself in the face. I always seem to do that. From the Shadowhunter series. I only have the first book, an actual copy. But the Seelie Queen, I believe, doesn't make an appearance till the second book, which I have on my Kindle. And how they represent the fairies in this series is very intriguing, very interesting. Most of the time the fairies are quite lovable, they're cute, they're quaint, they're whimsical. In this series, they can be all that. They're definitely whimsical, and if they want to be, they can make you think that they're lovable, but in fact, they're kind of like tricksters. They're actually pretty scary beings, and especially their queen. Reading about that scene with her in it just made me very uncomfortable, which is why I had to pick her for this category. Category number 7, demon. And for this one, I wanted to do Screw Tape from the Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis. I read this as part of the last readathon, not the Dewey readathon. Not this last one that happened this month, but the one back in, I want to say August. It was definitely in the summer. And that was an interesting read. It was basically Screw Tape sending letters to this junior tempter and advising this other demon how to corrupt this person. And it was interesting to see morals being set up in almost an administrative fashion. Category number 8. As these categories continue, I had a hard time finding answers for them as they progressed. Like Screw Tape, the last one, I like really had to rack my brain. And this category is angel. And I of course thought of other literary angels, but I kept on going to Castiel from Supernatural, which is also a comic book series, but I've never read the series. I've only watched the TV show. But because it is also a comic book series, I'm counting it. I don't know who wrote it. I want to say it's DC Comics does it, but that's definitely not the writer. I don't know who wrote it. But Castiel is just awesome. He's lovable. He's constantly struggling between his own sense of morality. He's just that type of character that I always want to root for. Category number 9, alien. I actually almost left this one blank because I, for the longest time, couldn't think of a character or even a species from a series until I remembered The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. I chose, I'm probably going to butcher this character's name, so give me a second, Zaphoid Beetlebrox. He is, at the same time, obnoxious, but also very hilarious. He has 2 heads that he can kind of like interchange, like have them both up, only have one of them down. I'm not entirely sure how his story progresses, because like I said, I've only read the first book in this series. I have a habit of not finishing series. But he is an interesting character, and I'm very glad I was able to find a legitimate answer for this question. And lastly, category 10, Superpowered Human. And unlike the other previous questions where I had a hard time even thinking about a character, I couldn't decide a character for this particular question. They're just all such really good characters. There's Professor X, there's Wonder Woman, there's Superman, there's Green Lantern, there's The Question. All of them awesome characters. But in the end, I picked Jubilee from the X-Men comics. They're done by Marvel Comics. Unfortunately, I didn't think to look up who particularly wrote her character. I chose Jubilee because in the 90s, there is this cartoon, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but Jubilee was one of the characters. I absolutely loved her when I was little. Granted, it was for one of the most shallow of reasons. I thought her powers were really pretty. She had the ability to use energy to blow stuff up, and she was also immune to having her mind read by like Professor X and anybody who had telepathic abilities. But because the way the energy was portrayed on screen, I was like, oh, that's pretty, I like her. Of course now, I like her for more mature reasons, but I liked her then because I just thought her powers were pretty. I'm not entirely sure how I liked how her story progressed in the comics. I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm not entirely sure I'm okay with how her story kind of went. So that was my Creatures of the Night book tag. I'm not going to tag anybody because one, I don't know who's been tagged in this already, and two, because Halloween is literally right around the corner. It's this weekend. I don't know who's going to have time to do this tag by Halloween. I personally think if it's within a couple days after Halloween, it should be okay, but it's up to your judgment. If you want to do this tag and you haven't done it already, I say you do it. This was a lot of fun, and it really got me into the Halloween spirit. Well, as always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. I would love to see you in the next video. Bye, guys.